Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. Is this your first time? Is it Kamagara? Is that how I pronounce your name? You're muted, by the way. You can unmute your line if you wish. If not, if you feel shy, don't worry. You can keep yourself muted. It's cool. Really excited that you're here and looking forward to talking to you about the global people's monetary system, amongst other things. So I'll wait a few more minutes just so I can see if there's anyone else that's going to join us. Can you raise your hand and just say, to confirm that you can hear me? So you'll see the reactions where you can click on the reactions on the bottom of your screen, and then you can raise a hand, just so I know that you can hear me. Cool, thanks, man. Or lady, sorry. I can't see you. I'm not sure who I'm speaking to exactly, but again, feel free if you want to switch on your camera. I appreciate that might affect your, the bandwidth, etc. on the internet connection there. If you click the raise hand button again, it will lower your hand. And if you've got any questions at any point, then feel free to raise your hand, put the questions in the chat, or I'll probably keep the mics open, just depending on who's coming. I'll either go through the website or I'll just sort of talk about it a bit freely about GPMS and about some of these other things, so that whoever wants to sort of engage with us can at any point. But sometimes obviously we get noise interruption, so sometimes I might have to mute the lines or ask you to mute. I'm Denovan, by the way, Denovan Truman, and I'm speaking to you from the United Kingdom in England. Now, I think you were here before, weren't you, Nelequego? You've joined us before. There's a little bit of an echo on the line, so yeah, that's fine. You can mute your line there. Yeah, I was just talking to Wanderer about how much money that the UK and the US and other countries in Europe have sent over to Ukraine to support a war, right? It's billions and billions and billions of pounds that have been sent over to them. And, that's supporting something that, okay, they're saying that it's necessary because they think that Russia is a threat, right? But ultimately, that kind of money that they've sent over in just 8 months, if they'd send that kind of money over to Africa and, the different countries in Africa and India, but with the perspective that land would be bought, seeds would be purchased, and then crops and plants would grow, then obviously it would make a huge difference. So yeah, it really highlights that the money is obviously there to be produced infinitely. They just obviously control how it's produced, when it's produced, and what it's used for on that level. But when we look at what we're doing at GPMS, where we're having to gather the agreements, but what we're creating is a world that actually benefits all, where none of this problems, poverty, war will exist. We haven't had one bit of assistance, of course, from governments or anything to do that. And why is that? Because obviously it's the most perfect solution that we're offering, and it benefits everyone. It really highlights that it's because the ones that are in power, okay, admittedly, they don't know what we're doing, but these are very clever people. They've got degrees, they went to very good universities. Why aren't they coming up with solutions like what we are coming up with as a people to create an abundant world? And it all really just comes back round to the fact that they want to maintain power and control, and they don't care about a huge number of people being in scarcity and lack, suffering and dying unnecessarily. And this is why it's so important that us, the people, take responsibility within ourselves, and as a collective people who are good people by nature, 99% of people are good, to actually create a better future for humanity. Because the governments that have had the power, they've had the opportunity to do this, and they've not done it. If they were prepared to do it, they could do what we're doing very, very quickly, and they could actually change the world very, very quickly. But it's all about this power and control and stuff. And the ones that have had the wealth and significant wealth, and they significantly have that power as well over people. They like to be better than everybody else, or think that they're better than everyone else. They're going to be reluctant to give that up. So those are the last people that would agree to GPMS, because they think that that's what they want. Not realizing actually how much more enjoyable the planet would be and how much more abundant it would be if we just actually were treating everybody as equals and everybody was as abundant as everyone else. They will come to that realization, many of them. But of course, it's down to us, the people, to actually make this change, because it's such a big change as well. You could imagine that actually if the governments were obviously trying to say, like, okay, we're going to do this massive change, they wouldn't really get any. I mean, obviously the people would listen to them. The people trust them generally, so, or have trusted them in the past. So people would think, well, actually, this is a good plan because it's coming from government. We're supposed to trust government, and this is really to serve everybody, and everybody's going to be abundant. So they would get the take up very quickly. So it just highlights why we are doing what we're doing as a people, why it's necessary for us to do this. And this is why now, for the first time ever, we've got the ability to do it, because we've got the platform, the website, to collect the voices, the agreements visibly, to give people confidence as those numbers grow. But it really does take a high level of consciousness to actually sort of overcome the fear of thinking we can't self-govern, because we're used to having centralized governments do these kind of, have these structures and the law system and all the rest of it. And people are kind of thinking, well, they can't imagine not having that, but it's just conditioning, really. So, I've been doing a really amazing course, which is to do with kind of psychology. It's to do with consciousness. We have our, consciousness, our higher states of consciousness, which is when we're really present in the moment, and we're actually focused on what we're doing, and we're really kind of interacting very consciously with people and with whatever it is that we're doing, because we're very much in that mind. And then we have the subconscious, which is like under consciousness. And that's the kind of state of mind where we're kind of on autopilot, and we're just basically able to operate in that subconscious mind like all the time and do things automatically without really thinking about what we're doing. But actually often we're not doing things to the best that we could be doing it, because it's a program. So, of course, reality is changing all the time. So your autopilot doesn't always respond as effectively as you would want it to. But have you got any questions, any things that you've thought about since we did the call last week that have come up in your mind that you wonder about? Are you thinking still, or having a thought about, what will happen on implementation? If everybody's given money, are people going to just stop working? Is that something that's entered your kind of consciousness? Are you feeling that that the people, there's lots of lazy people in the world that won't actually want to do any work if they think they don't have to, if they think they're going to be given money? Because obviously the controls that we are going to maintain a level of control in place, which we have to, so that we have organization, not chaos, is that, in order for people to receive their monthly amounts of money each month, which is the same as everybody else receives, people need to contribute, right? They need to do some sort of contribution to society. Of course, you can choose how you're contributing, but ultimately, you're going to basically still want to contribute. You're still going to want to have all of the things that you have: your free home, your free energy, your free food, your free medicine. So, is that something that you've thought about, that maybe you think other people will think about, that you're kind of unclear on? Just interested to sort of get some feedback from you on anything that you're sort of thinking that maybe is a hindrance, that you think that some people might be slow to give their consent because of that question mark. Does that make sense, that question? You can put a question in the chat if you want, if you're not comfortable with opening up your line and talking. I appreciate that the network connection isn't great, so you may sort of come and go with that. I think what we can do in the meantime is I would like to share with you Firstly, we've only got probably about 15 minutes of this call left. So what I'm planning on doing is opening up another Zoom, but I'm going to use my general Zoom meeting room, which we can keep on using the same meeting room for this group all the time. So especially like, tonight, and other calls we're doing, we'll use that same link. And then obviously if you drop out, you can just click on the link and come in. And if we go over 40 minutes, we'll be using the same meeting room again. I just have to open a new one. So as long as I open a new one, you can join in and, we can keep the conversation going. And I do really invite you to obviously participate in this with, coming in, talking, asking me any questions. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, because I'm not sure you probably know too much about me. I'm obviously in England. I'm 43 years old. For the last 12 years, I've been running a cleaning company, a very prestigious one. It's only a small business, but we're regarded as one of the best specialists in cleaning carpets, upholstery, and fabrics in the southwest of London and Surrey. Before that, I was selling audio and web conferencing solutions like Zoom, but to big global conglomerates, banks and IT companies, many other companies across different sectors. And I did that for about 4 years. Before that, I was working in the insurance industry, selling commercial insurance broking services to businesses. So I've got a wide range of experience. I've also got a lot of experience in health and wellness. And so, I actually give a lot of free consultation to people about their health. And, actually most of what I do is for free, and I do that because obviously I care about people and I care about, our planet. And some of what I've been doing in the health and wellness sphere has actually been to do with a kind of a novel food that's emerged, which is from the cannabis plant, but it's not a drug, it's a nutrient from that plant, which actually is very powerful. And I've been educating people on that. And the actual plant as well has got amazing potential for helping us heal the planet. And so it's a very good market to get into. And in Africa, the laws are going to be changing with regards to the growth of cannabis, so that in Africa you can also get involved in that market, because the market for cannabis is going to be $1 trillion business in the sense of the old world, where we're actually talking about capitalism, where people are obviously starting businesses to make profit, and obviously unfortunately you get sucked into being greedy with that. That crop, the hemp plant, is basically, it's got 20,000 different uses. You can use it for food, medicine, for energy. You can use it for all kinds of things. You can create paper from trees. You can actually make paper from hemp, which comes from cannabis. So I've got a lot of experience. I just wanted to give you a bit of background on me, because you're hearing about the global people's monetary system, which is a people's movement of change to bring in this new all-inclusive system that creates abundance and freedom for every man, woman, and child upon the planet instantly upon inception. So we're doing this as a movement. It's by the people, the 99% of people, because the 99% of people are good people. They are caring people. Yes, we all get into that, through the education we've had about starting businesses and careers and, getting sucked into that old way of living, because that's the only way that we've ever known. But now, even the big globalists, when we talk about Bill Gates, when we talk about, even the royal family members like Prince Charles, you've probably heard of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, a globalized organization. They're talking about a great reset, which they've really started to talk about more since the beginning of the pandemic, because they saw the pandemic as an opportunity to make the shift forward. In fact, a lot of people suspect that this pandemic of COVID-19 was actually part of their agenda to actually bring in this global reset, which is planned for somewhere between 2024 and 2030. And what they want to do is, it's very much moving into this new sphere of, sorry, I'm just going to have to mute someone. Oh, it's Bernard's line there. Their plan is to obviously take full advantage of the fourth industrial revolution of artificial intelligence, and use it also artificial intelligence and our developments in that, and with technology and robotics, to actually shift the world into a new world where, of course, their focus and they're selling it on climate change. Because obviously we see there's a lot of damage to our planet going on, and they see that capitalism ultimately is a massive driving force of the problem for damaging our planet, because people are creating products across the board, which creates huge amounts of pollution in the process. Gases, carbon gases, greenhouse gases, but also the carbon footprint and just the pollution, physical pollution of actual plastics and what have you as well. That what they've wanted to do is actually destroy small businesses and medium-sized businesses in the West, because those small businesses, those medium-sized businesses in the West are actually massive contributors to the problem. And so at the moment, what they see is that the big globalized companies, the big corporations, whilst they are also massive drivers of that pollution problem, they can at least implement various measures at a cost, which they can afford because they're very profitable companies, but measures that will basically reduce the carbon footprint whilst they move humanity out of the old capitalistic arrangement into a new global reset. The problem is that these governments and the people at the tops of these companies, they really don't care about the people, and they don't care about lots of people in the process of the transition being affected, dying, and all that sort of stuff. And also is what kind of restriction on our freedoms, loss of our freedoms, are going to occur to us, when they bring in this new world, because they see that people are a problem. They see that people are criminals, that people that they're often lazy, they don't do enough, and they're actually just sucking the energy out of the earth, and they're the problem, which isn't actually the truth. Yes, there are people that are lazy, and yes, there are people that are criminals, but those people that become criminals often become criminals because they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they don't have equality, and that's because of the old system and because of the legal system that is obviously interpenetrated with the financial system. And so they're actually, responsible largely for the problems because of the old system, and they want to keep their power, and they're at the top of the pyramid. So, they obviously will always benefit most out of the old system, and they want to benefit most out of the new system as well. But that doesn't benefit the majority of people. And so enough's enough. I mean, it's really not acceptable to see that thousands of children die needlessly every single day of starvation, of lack, of easily curable diseases, when they can create billions of pounds within 8 months out of thin air, send it over to Ukraine to support Ukraine in a war, which is just between one man, or two, Putin. They're blaming the war on Putin starting it. But they send the money over to Ukraine to support a war over there. Money which actually, if they sent over to Africa and had sent that over to Africa many, many years ago, could have ended poverty, or could have ended starvation, could have ended lack, could have created loads of jobs, could have created clean water for children, could have created the ability for children to be able to have medicine, that they need when they get malaria and typhoid and easily curable diseases. So they don't care about people, and it's hard to accept that truth sometimes. But it is the truth, and it's evident when you really kind of put your attention to it. You can see it is the truth. So what we are very, very most interested in is creating abundance and ending all of that poverty, ending all that lack, but also creating the true freedoms for everyone. Why should it be that only freedom comes to people that can afford it, that have lots of money? Even if you've got £1 million or $1 million in the bank, that gives you more freedom than if you don't have £1 million or $1 million. Of course it does. You can obviously travel more, you can have a home, you can have this and that. Depending on where you are, £1 million might not actually go that far. But the more money you have in the current system, then the more freedom you have. Throughout the pandemic, we saw politicians, they weren't abiding by the rules that they set out for the rest of the people. They were having more freedom than everyone else. And it was like this kind of pyramid hierarchy where they sort of think that they're above everyone else. And this has got to go, because it's that whole kind of mentality that creates all of the problems in the first place. That's what creates criminals, and of course, when you have more problems, more crime, more lack, people not fitting in, it then ends up breaking down society. It causes more problems. What happens is it affects the mentality of people. So you get psychosis, mental illnesses, depression, bipolar, all of these other conditions. And what's at the heart of that is stress. And so what they create is stress. And they do that through what they're doing is creating chaos. And they actually, in their minds, they bring order out of chaos when they then, create a problem and then a alleged solution. So, for example, COVID pandemic was the problem, then it was the vaccine. So, okay, so I'm going to pause now. We've only got 3 minutes, but I see that you're commenting there. So that's good evening, comrades. According to me, that opinion of giving out money to people, I think, will make people lazy, and others will ignore doing things since they will have it in mind that other people are doing it. So how will a person be convinced? Well, it's a very good question, and I'm very, very grateful for you asking it. I'll try and answer it in 2 minutes. And of course, this is going to close this Zoom in a minute. So then I'll open up another one with a new link, and then you can just join that. So essentially, the money that we're giving to people does have a control measure on it. People must contribute at least 10 to 20 hours a month, for, doing this. This is in the transition phase. There's going to be obviously developments and unlocking of technology, which means that people's hours will be significantly reduced very, very quickly after implementation. But initially, people obviously are going to want to continue. Food needs to be produced. People still need things. But what you must understand is actually what happens within people when they know that they're going to be equal to everyone else, when they know that they're going to be able to have a home, when they're going to be able to have a vehicle, when they can travel freely across the world they've never, ever been able to do before. This is actually something that is just so powerful because, we're creating a world that is actually a beautiful world where the future is bright, and not just for a select number of people, but for everyone. And so, the gratitude emerges in people, and people are grateful. And there's lots of different healing modalities that are emerging, some of which have actually been out there for a long time but have been suppressed. But new technologies, new modalities of healing people, physically and emotionally, psychologically, that's going to help people, be able to overcome certain areas of their life where, they've had a pattern of activity or behavior that wasn't necessarily positive and good for the collective. But now we're moving into a new world. They're going to be very, very happy about that. They're going to be very, very happy about everything that they're going to be able to enjoy. And so they'll be more than happy to actually contribute. Yes, you can imagine there's going to be some lazy people, but most people are going to be more than happy to contribute. And a lot of people will contribute a lot more than 10 to 20 hours a month. People like to do things, so we're used to working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So, and anyone can work that amount if they want to. And if they're doing creative jobs, they'll probably do that. A lot of people will do that anyway. So it will easily make up for that, loss if there is anybody that's really lazy. But you've got to realize that there's an underestimate as to how a new change like this that's so positive for everyone is going to actually affect the collective in a big way. So that's my initial answer. I'm going to open up a new Zoom because we're going to get kicked out in probably about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, we're still here. All right. Okay. I'll see you in a minute. Yeah. I'll send you the link in the WhatsApp group.